continuing in this vein of Christians and work, which I feel is a very vital subject for today. I'm seeing it increasingly grow, this concept of, well, I'm a Christian. I don't need to work at really anything in my Christian life. And I believe that is devastating for individuals. And today's question is following that same vein, is how can a young person find their abilities and talents and put these to work?
Broad question, broad topic, vitally important. John Calvin, in his first volume of his Institutes, talks about the relationship of self-awareness coming from a right understanding of who God is. And he argues, rightfully in my judgment, that when we lose our perception of God, we lose a perception of who we are. In order to be fulfilled in your human essence, to actualize your humanity, as God created each of us to be, and I do believe God creates each one of us. We are who we are because God made us.
Amen.
Now, sin is a part of that. He didn't make sin.
Right.
We're sinners by virtue of the fact that we are sons of Adam. But God makes us, and our humanity comes from God's creative act. And He makes us unique. He makes us in keeping with His plan and purpose and will for our lives. So I think that is both a question that has application both in our Christian lives, if we're Christians, and we're talking about believers here. But we're also talking about just in our humanity. I think God made you with certain gifts and certain abilities in your DNA. Talents that you have, that God gave to you. We're not talking just about spiritual gifts here, which are given to you at your conversion, but we're talking about your humanity. People are good at some things and they're not good at other things. And the reason they are is because God made them that way. And I think it's important, and I want to say this to young people, for you to accept yourself as God made you to be in the talents that God gave you. Now, when you're young, you don't know what those are. So let me suggest that I think it's important, if you're discovering yourself and your abilities and talents, to get involved in a lot of different kinds of work. Manual labor, computer work, art, whatever, different kinds of things that you can do. And you'll discover quickly what you can't do well, and you'll discover quickly what you have a propensity to do. It could be that there's something you have a natural talent to do that you can develop more. And that may guide you into going to school. What school should you go to? What course should you study? Or what kind of a job you should get. Now, I think when you're young, you need to have all kinds of jobs. And you can learn skills through those jobs that you can use later on. Everybody needs that. And it won't hurt you to do that kind of work or when you're young. But you'll also discover, I'm not really good at that. That just doesn't make sense. Yeah. Don't fight it. If you're not good at something, don't fight it. Just mark it down. I'm not good at that. Now give it time, because you may get better at it. But if you find something that just seems to click, go for it. Go for it. When I first went to college, I thought I was going to major in business and accounting. And I was horrible at it. And I hated that study. And I can remember, and at the same time I was preaching on the side. God was opening doors. That's a long story. I'll tell you sometime. How God just opened doors for me to just start preaching the word. And God had done a work in my life, but I didn't understand it. But I came to realize later that it was a call to do the work of preaching the word. But part of getting there was hating some study. And I transferred from the secular school where I was going to a Bible college. and I started taking Greek, and I started taking theology, and I just like, this is it. I just blossomed. And, and so I was discovering that I was created for this. And from then on, school was fun.
Yeah.
Now, that's kind of an illustration of what I'm talking about. Find your niche. You got a niche somewhere. The other thing I would say is talk to people. Say, how did you end up where you are, doing what you do? Tell me your story. Tell me your journey. And listen carefully. Ask for advice. Go to spiritual counselors and say, hey, can you explain to me what you see in my life? Do you have any advice for me? There's a process when you're young of discovery, and there are all sorts of components. There's doing all kinds of work, exercising your gifts, discovering who you are, asking other people for their guidance and help. And it's a process. It may take you a few years to kind of, and it moves on from one thing to the next. But one day you're going to wake up and go, I'm where I need to be.
Yeah.
Now, I want to say one other thing before I'm done. I don't think when we're talking about a secular job, I don't think there's only one job any Christian could do, only just one job. The Lord, and depending, and this is raising a whole nother area that we may one day want to talk about. But as the country changes, as business changes, as life and society change in America, Christians may not have the opportunity to do some things because we're shut out of those things because we're Christian. That's a part of the persecution that may come. So you can do all kinds of things for the glory of God.
Amen.
So I don't want to divide work into spiritual and secular, because all work, no matter what, if it's digging a ditch, if you can do that for the glory of God.
Amen.
Okay. So use your gifts, use your talent, use your youth, use your energy to do the things that matter and that are important, and ask God to lead you, guide you, and bless you. I think that's the way to proceed.
Thank you, Pastor.
You're welcome.